your attempts, your preparation is not okay, your performance might be decreasing. But I really cautiously kept all these noises outside.
And you came out with flying colors.
I think that was also the catch in my preparation, that I listened only to myself. I felt that there could be some fine day where I will reach where I have to go. I recall in our test discussions with Karandeep sir, they're quite elaborate. Sir discusses many case studies of every topic, so I made a note of everything in my notes, and I would always keep supplementing them in any test I had written. But before you take up the exam, you need to have a very clear idea of who you are and why you want it. So you cannot assume that you will start coaching early, but the point is to become a holistic person very early on. My failures are something which have taught me so much more, and it's been a processual journey. So I did not doubt myself when I failed, but I doubted my process. I think that distinction really helped me going, kept me confident also that maybe next attempt I could do better. Knowing that there is a very big part of the exam you cannot control at all. You do not know the question paper, you do not know the competitors, but you also should realize that if it's tough for you, it's tough for everyone else. But what you can control is your time in the paper, is your reducing careless mistakes in the paper. Every time I did not do well, I think I internalized all my errors in a very cautious, intimate manner. I think I went very internal. I listened very little to what others thought about my preparation or my mistakes. I took advice, I took mentorship, but I think I did things my way.
We hear this very often, that consistency is what transforms an average into excellence. But today we have someone who has been an excellent student, an excellent learner. Today we have Eshani Anand, who has cracked UPSC CSE 2023 and got All India rank 79. Welcome, Eshani. We at LevelUp IAS are very proud of you. You have done great. You've achieved a great rank. So welcome to the podcast. Eshani has been a very hardworking, perseverant, and a very tenacious learner. She has these qualities and these virtues, and I just want to ask Eshani, especially before we begin the podcast, like, were these virtues there in you before you began this preparation, or some of them have come during the preparation?
First of all, thank you so much for having me here, and thank you for the lovely introduction. I was a very academic student when I was younger, so I was someone who was very hardworking and very perseverant. But like you mentioned, this exam did teach me tenacity, because if you see my journey, I have failed prelims, mains, and also given the interview twice. So I did not repeat my approach and my mistakes ever again. So I think the exam taught me tenacity, but apart from that, it taught me how to love my failures in a way that I could improve further. So the exam has taught me so much more than what I already had.
Great. We would like to begin with a brief introduction of Eshani from Eshani herself. Eshani, could you please introduce yourself and about your educational background also and your journey in UPSC preparation?
So I'm originally from Haryana, but I've lived in Tamil Nadu for a very long time. I've done computer science engineering, and I think in my final years of engineering, I got drawn to civil services, and I really wanted an occupation where I had a very broad, interesting perspective about life, society, and people. And this exam enamored me so much more. I decided to write in 2020. 2019, I began my preparation. In 2020 was my first prelims. I did not do very well in the prelims. Then I cleared 2021 prelims. I failed the mains that year. So in 2022, I had cleared prelims, mains, and also the interview. Then I got in the Indian Revenue Service. And this is my fourth attempt with this rank 79. So having seen my journey, it has been an incremental delta through all the failures, through a lot of learning. But every time I did not do well, I think I internalized all my errors in a very cautious, intimate manner. I think I went very internal. I listened very little to what others thought about my preparation or my mistakes. I took advice, I took mentorship, but I think I did things my way. So this is how I could sum up my journey.
And I think this is how it should be also. And it's lovely to hear your journey. Like you have been so consistent, as I introduced you in the introduction also. When I heard about you, I read about you, I just thought that this girl is actually very consistent, very hardworking, because with each stage and with each attempt, there's a self-doubt that emerges while the preparation also. So how did you overcome that self-doubt?
So alongside self-doubt, there's also a lot of fatigue that sets in. You start to you hear these sort of things that as you give more attempts, your preparation is not okay, your performance might be decreasing. But I really cautiously kept all these noises outside.
And you came out with flying colors,
I
right?
think that was also the catch in my preparation, that I listened only to myself. I felt that there could be some fine day where I will reach where I have to go. So being very solitary in my preparation, studying in Chennai also may have helped me because it was just me listening to my own thoughts and motivating myself. I did have I had a lucky support system in my parents and my friends, so they also kept me going. But it was not a smooth sailing journey, of course, but it's been a wonderful, fulfilling experience so far.
Okay, so Ishani, how did the dream of becoming a civil servant, when did you see the dream, or when was the time when you think that now I want to be a civil servant? Was there any moment or any incident, or why civil services?
So I do come from a civil services background, and there was some sort of latent understanding of the services. So it was always some opportunity, sometime I knew I would write the exam. But that dream grew larger and larger and more personal as I started to do curriculars in school. We did volunteering in school and participated in many social activities as well. So I felt somewhere that my dream was morphing into myself. I became a little more empathetic. And I also had an exchange program where I was put in a very different cultural setting in Spain. So a lot of these experiences taught me how to think about another person in a better view. So I felt that civil services became a very organic decision for me, and I felt that I would give it a try and then decide. I did not know I would clear, but I was very happy to give it a chance.
Okay, and since you mentioned that your family had already a civil servant, which is your father, so I just want to know, during his service period, there would have been many things that on which he worked, like बहुत सारे sections of society के लिए उन्होंने काम किया होगा, but उस ऐसा कोई सेक्शन या ऐसा कोई चीज जो आपको उन्होंने बोला हो that somewhere I am not able to do work for this section, but now you can do when you're a civil servant. So which is that section, or what is that work that you would want to do now?
The civil services have changed a lot since father's time. Also, we are seeing that there is a new way of training now, Mission Karam Yogi, and there is so much diversity which is coming in. But I feel that the difference between perhaps the two generations of bureaucracy could be the digitization that has come in. So today it's good that a bureaucrat knows a little bit on how to work around a computer, have more technical skills, and have more digital literacy in many different aspects. So I have seen that gradual change. So perhaps he would tell me that you could also be more attuned to these skills to do a better job tomorrow.
Yeah, lovely. And it is needed also, like for financial inclusion and for other such services, right? As you mentioned that during your school, you said that there were extracurricular activities in which you were involved. So I want not only the aspirants but even the school students who want to aspire for civil services, जिनको ये अगर podcast देखते हैं तो they should know कि how important is it to get into the extracurricular activities other than the academics, because academics is important but extracurricular activities are equally important these days if you want. So what would you want to suggest to those students if they see?
So I'm sure a lot of school students know about the examination, but before you take up the exam, you need to have a very clear idea of who you are and why you want it. So you cannot assume that you will start coaching early, but the point is to become a holistic person very early on. Yeah. For example, if you take up volunteering as a non-academic activity, it's rightly said by Gandhiji that you lose yourself, you find yourself in the service of others. So when you start to volunteer on the field, then you realize the problems people are facing, and then you will solve this in bureaucracy. Yeah. If you take up sports, then you learn resilience on the field. You learn team spirit, you learn a lot of different qualities as well. If you do public speaking, then you start to articulate your thoughts much better. There are so many non-academic activities which school students can take, which will help them so much in the services. So I would suggest that you focus a lot on being a holistic person and then trying to find yourself in civil services after that.
Yeah, you put it very well. So now, Eshani, let's just talk specifically about UPSC and particularly about prelims exams, since we know that prelims is approaching now and hardly few days are left in it. So what would you like to tell to those aspirants who are preparing for 2024, and now how should they deal with the kind of stress and anxiety that they have in their mind at present? They must be writing many mocks right now, and they must be giving those tests, and after the evaluation, what all has, well, sometimes the self-doubt, as I discussed earlier also, it comes in their mind. So इस point पे उनको कैसे deal करना चाहिए about it, and how did you deal with it?
First of all, I would like to say it's a very tough 60-50 days which are going to come, because you will feel like every day is less and you will get very anxious about a lot of things, a lot of self-doubt, anxiety. You'll start thinking prelims has become much harder. These are some of the problems that you might face, but a very simple strategy I adopted was, number one, focusing on static syllabus, on modern history, polity, and getting these concepts in mind, revising what I have done in the past few days, in the past few months, and most importantly, looking at PYQs. I would see PYQs and try to map my strategy again and again. This is the third thing you could do. And fourth is to not lose sight of CSAT, because CSAT is also a very important paper. You can keep revising your formulae and the way you would do the paper. But fifth, I would like to say that there has to be this internal voice that tells you that, okay, my preparation is going right, I'm on the right path, and no matter what be the sort of paper, syllabus, or the cutoff, I will still clear. So keeping your basics in mind and doing a lot of revision will definitely help you the last 50 to 60 days.
I'm sure this is going to help them as well. Now, I want to know that during your preparation time, what kept you motivating? What was the bona fide booster for you during your preparation?
Very interesting question though, because what kept me going is me imagining myself on the field, perhaps doing an inspection somewhere or looking at what other people want to tell me or how they would communicate their problems to me. Okay. So I felt that this vision was so real and raw for me that I would always want to reach this position in society and help people perhaps in many ways. So since I could imagine it, I think my body also was attuned to the sort of work I wanted to do. Okay. Apart from the internal motivation and support system, I think this was a very important factor for me as well.
So you always imagine yourself as
perhaps an officer or
right,
an enabler of a particular project or a district.
So ऐसा होता है ना, head down कर लिया हमने कभी, and now we are so stressed, अभी छोड़ देते हैं ये, and then suddenly something just strikes our mind that okay, you are an officer, you can't give up like this. Exactly. Yeah. So Eshani, since you told me that you failed your first prelims, so what was the biggest learning for you after you failed the first prelims? So, and how did you approach your failures, and how did you deal with them?
So I failed the first prelims and I realized how inadequate I was in the exam, because I wasn't able to manage my time. I did not know how to think on a few questions. And I went back and I repeated my PYQs once more. Number two, I saw the structure of the paper. I counted how many questions of each topics are coming. I counted how many static syllabus is there. I also made mistakes in polity, basic questions, which is a big blunder which cannot be done in these prelims papers at all. So I went back, saw all my mistakes, and took 2-3 months just to analyze my paper. I think that really helped me move forward. My failures are something which have taught me so much more, and it's been a processual journey. So I did not doubt myself when I failed, but I doubted my process. I think that distinction really helped me going, kept me confident also that maybe next attempt I could do better.
You've really said this, you've said this a right thing, that don't doubt yourself. You can doubt your preparation, you can doubt the process, but don't doubt yourself ever. Yeah. Okay. So after like talking about the prelims, let's talk about mains. Mains may, it's like you failed the first mains also of yours, and in that you must have thought that there would be some shortcomings that you need to address, or कुछ value addition होगा करने के लिए जो, तो आपने वो value addition कैसे किया, and what was first of all tell me, जब mains का result आया आपको कैसा लगा, और आपको क्या लगा कि now how should I begin again?
So I was expecting good scores in mains. That's the only time in the exam I've had some expectations, I think, from the results. And then I realized I wasn't there. But it was not easy to face that. But however, I went back again to my question papers to see what I wrote. I analyzed every line, every topic, every introduction, conclusion, whatever I could recall, and I rewrote it again very roughly. And then I went back and I thought, which paper of mine was the Achilles heel or the stickling point? And I went back to it. I repeated the process of answer writing. I repeated the process of revision. I couldn't do these two because I had too many sources, too much content, which was so limitless. It was just a mess for me as well. So in 2022, until the mains exam, I consolidated all of that. I had a very set structure that I would write. I would introduce like this, have this body in this way, and conclude this way. So a lot of that internalization again came to me after my mains 2021.
Okay. I would like to tell everyone, those who are seeing this podcast, that Eshani had anthropology as her optional and she scored really very well in that optional. So if we talk about your optional subject anthropology, I just want to know why anthropology, since you said that your background was computer science, engineering, then what made you choose anthropology as your optional?
As far as I knew myself, I felt that I had a very interesting humanities bent of mind also. Just curiosity about society, people in general. And I saw the syllabus of anthropology, and I've said this before, it's very diverse. It toggles from biology to linguistics to culture to India. So it felt like a very interesting subject for me. I also prefer a diverse mindset where I can touch many topics in a subject. So anthropology struck a chord with me, and then I went into detail about the syllabus, the textbooks, the test series, and a lot of this. And it has helped me become a better person today because the subject is also other regarding. So I can also think about another person's perspective and perhaps be more interested in what they are saying also. Although I wasn't rewarded. I didn't do very well in my first mains, but I went back to the drawing board again from scratch humbly, and then I was able to score much better.
I would just like to tell that we saw Ishani's answer copies also, and we actually saw the shift and kind of improvement in your answers. So everyone wants to know, like when they know ki anthropology mein value addition is very important, plays an important role. And in your answer sheets also, we saw that initially there was some shortcomings, and then you improved very nicely. You added many examples, many diagrams in your answer sheet. So could you please elaborate more on this? Like how did you do the value addition?
Yes, so it is assumed that optional is always very static and dynamic, while it's very static. While it is quite static and you have concepts, it's always nice for any reader to see contemporary examples, to see it being applied on the field, to see some report or some institution doing something with anthropology. So I did a lot of research. I think I spent a lot of my energy and online searches just to find contemporary examples, institutions, maybe a tribe doing something very interesting somewhere. So I made that conscious effort because I wanted my papers to look very different from another aspirant maybe. And like you said, I did do this incrementally. My question quality paper also increased. But apart from value addition, I also focus on presentation. How much of value addition is not needed for an answer, because your base concepts, thinkers should be there, and then you can do this frills. So value addition is not the only thing that fetches you marks, but a big part is the static content.
Static content, right. And other than that, how important is the conceptual clarity in anthropology, and how did you get it?
Conceptual clarity is supremely crucial, because when you're clear in your mind about a concept, you're clear on the paper as well. And then the concept flows, the thinker flows. I recall in my first mains, I did not know the correct distinction between animatism and animism very well. And that in many ways is a microcosm of my first anthropological attempt. I should have been more careful about the concepts, and that is what I built on in the coming mains. I differentiated concepts very well, understood tough topics, theories, issues of the caste topics, for example. So a lot of that, Karandeep sir's classes also helped me. The mains test discussions, for example. So without conceptual clarity, your papers are also not very clear, I would say.
And what was your favorite part in in anthropology as a whole, like subject?
As an optional.
Yeah, as an optional. So what was the main?
I think I really loved linguistic anthropology, and the way that language and culture are related to each other, and how the language of a person is the is their mirror to society, is their leeway into society. So I loved linguistic anthropology, how languages have come, and I loved all the concepts of Sapir-Whorf, for example. I think that's a I like that part of optional a lot.
Okay. One thing is there in anthropology is that where we have so much of content with us, we have so much to write. Students, they are very confused. Like if it is about any specific topic, so they have many things to write. So how should they concise it, and what role does a test series play in it?
So, rightly so, there are many sources when you begin with itself, but how to really streamline, and also a disclaimer, I have had 4 years of prep. So, my notes are also very bulky because I've kept adding on and on. But to advise someone, I would say you need to focus on basic coaching material wherever you go to and have that as a base, and also look at the standard textbooks of the subject starting from scratch, like DM Das or Nadeem Hussain. These are very good books to get a base. So you consolidate these two clearly, and then you focus on PYQs. Without PYQs, you're not very well armored for the exam. PYQs are very crucial, and this is your base. And now, answering the value addition part of it, every answer of any subject should have the basic core, the basic keywords, the thinkers. These should immediately pop up in your answers, and this has to be the priority. And then you can add value addition from other sources from the outside. So it's a step-by-step approach. We should not do so many things at the same time. We can start with basic material, answer writing, PYQs, and then move on to value addition.
And which comes from the test series, right?
From the test series, yes. So when you do test series, I recall in our test discussions with Karandeep sir, they're quite elaborate. Sir discusses many case studies of every topic. So I made a note of everything in my notes, and I would always keep supplementing them in any test I had written. So test series and the solution PDFs are also very important.
Yeah, and one thing which is there, which I see that which is missed by many aspirants, is that they do the test or they attend the lectures, but they don't do the follow-ups or the discussions that are there. So tell them please, how important is it to attend the discussions and everything?
Tests. So it's not enough that you finish 3 hours of tough exam and then go back. It's very important to first of all see yourself. How have I written? Could I have done this answer much better? When you're a little calmer after the exam, you should always circle the different points, some handwriting discrepancy, for example. And I had made these mistakes in my past attempts of not seeing the discussions or not seeing the solutions PDF. But with Karandeep sir's courses, he does take a very detailed understanding of test discussions. So without that, you won't be improving much. Your answers will always remain at a very base level. So this is the importance, I would say, of test
So I think,
discussion.
yeah, that must have improved the marks also, and thus must have improved the clarity also that you have now. So okay, Eshani, let's now I just want to talk about like a mindset that you have before you appear in any kind of stage in this exam. Like what mindset should you have? Should one have if they appear for prelims? What mindset they should have if they are appearing for mains and for the interview? What different mindsets that you have?
In general, there is one philosophy I've spoken about a lot and also followed in all the levels. We can speak differently, but all the levels. One is knowing that there is a very big part of the exam you cannot control at all. You do not know the question paper, you do not know the competitors, but you also should realize that if it's tough for you, it's tough for everyone else. But what you can control is your time in the paper, is your reducing careless mistakes in the paper. So always tell yourself that I will not make careless mistakes. I will recall the static syllabus correctly. I will also manage my time. Very simple to focus only on those 2-3 hours is this mantra. Only focus on what you can, the controllables that you can. But apart from this, when you are giving the prelims paper, it's 4 hours of grueling work. You're always on the desk, and always focus is very important there. But for the mains exam, it's a marathon, so to say. It's a very long marathon.
Very tiring.
So keeping your body healthy, reducing mental fatigue, and always focusing only on that day's paper is very crucial. And before the interview, I think confidence should be what you're wearing. Always feel that yes, I'm strong. I deserve to come here. So the mindset has to transition a bit differently also.
Exactly, very rightly put up. Eshani, I have like this one thing that I want everyone to know is that how should you self-assess your preparation? Because you prepare, you write tests continuously, you do the preparation, you learn things, but then एक वो self awareness या self evaluation कहीं कहीं missing होता है. So how did you do that? कभी खुद को evaluate करना, खुद की preparation को देखना, now where do I stand? Because बाकी सब तो हमको बताते ही हैं, हमारे mentors and Karandeep sir would also have told you. But how did you do the self evaluation?
So for my prelims, first of all, I saw my psychological state. I knew the sort of questions which got me stressed, and I then went back and thought, why am I stressed so much about that? So I think the first step is a very psychological assessment of yourself and how to contain that. But apart from that, I wrote down how I was feeling in every question in my failed prelims. I wrote down what I was thinking, why it did not work out well. So it was a snapshot of everything that had gone wrong for me. This is why I was able to clear prelims after this as well. Apart from this, the test series will always tell you prelims that where you're faltering and what's good, what's not good. You should make a note of all of this. You make a careless mistake in not correct versus correct questions, or you make a mistake in careless mistakes, you don't understand articles. You make a list of all of this, and your thought process should be very clear. This was prelims. For mains, it's a very different exam. I would write an answer and then I would think, does it look interesting for me? Can I add more and more? I think not feeling satisfied with your answer is one step to keep improving. It should not be over-relying or incessant as well. But I would try to improve my handwriting. I would make things more clear. I would put more schematics. I would compare with some toppers' copies, not over-relying again on that, but also just wonder if I'm on the right path or not. And testing yourself is always the key. And as humans, we are very good at improving ourselves as well. So it's a gradual process.
Okay, coming back to optional again, like in anthropology, what was the, like now you have become an officer, you're going to become one and you've already become one. How are you going to apply anthropology in your work life now? And what is that one thing that your mentor, that is Karan sir, has told you or has taught you in anthropology that you're surely going to apply?
Yes. So anthropology is a very diverse, beautiful subject. It has, like I said, another regarding attitude. So it has a lot of applied benefits also. In general, in anthropology, we look at someone else's perspective. It's called cultural relativism. So I think that has a wonderful application everywhere. Number two, an anthropologist should have flexibility to adapt anywhere. So whatever be the sort of posting or district, I should be adaptable also. What Karandeep sir did tell me was something called the channel theory. He said that the gatekeepers of a society are the channels of change. So you should target the gatekeepers of a society to bring forth any social change. And it needs a lot of constant effort. So I think a lot of this we can take from anthropology.
Yeah, it's very interesting, I would say. During the preparation, sometimes it happens that you achieve something, like आपने टेस्ट में बहुत अच्छा स्कोर कर लिया है, या खुद के टेस्ट में, I would say, या फिर आप अगर कहीं से क्लासेस ले रहे हैं तो वहाँ पर you've done well. So how did you give yourself a treat in that manner? कुछ ऐसा करते थे कि हाँ यार अब ये हो गया है, मेरे को ये मार्क्स आ गए हैं, तो now this is how I'm going to enjoy, I'm going to celebrate.
As laborious as it sounds, I think my treat was just a break for me. I would, if I had to treat myself, I would take, let's say, a couple of hours off and watch something fun, spend time with my family. I think that's how I sort of balanced it out. Because for me, taking a break was something I thought I should really deserve it. Only then can I go for a break, go out, meet my friends or my family. So I think a break was something how I treated myself.
Yeah, and a break is equally important during this preparation. You get so exhausted and mentally, physically. I completely agree with you. The other thing is that what was the one thing that your father and your mother have always told you? There's one line hota hai jo parents hamesha bolte hain, which is very inspiring. So can you recall any of such lines?
My parents kept regurgitating this quotation. My father would say, do thy duty, reward is not thy concern. It means do thy duty, keep doing your duty, reward is not your concern. So the point is you should disassociate yourself from results. You cannot control a lot in this exam, but once you've fixed yourself with the process and done your duty diligently, you can let it go because we can't control so much. In my process of the exam, I have maintained very low expectations all the time. If it was a bad result, I would go back to square one. If it was a good result, I would be happy. But I knew my duty was done for that.
Yeah, I'm sure. I was about to say this because आपके preparation में आपने वही किया है. You've actually followed what your father has told you. You were consistently giving your attempts, giving your preparation and everything, giving everything in your preparation. So you've actually done what he has said. So on that note, I would just like to conclude and would like to congratulate again on what you've deserved, what you've achieved. So very, very congratulations to you, and thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, for having such a wonderful session. Thank you, everyone. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.